Good afternoon. This is the Duke of Fremont Street in Las Vegas, Nevada. Today is Thursday, January 27th, 2022. Before starting my video, I'd like to thank you for stopping by. And as always, I would like to toast you. Salute. Astonishing. Well, currently we're having a mess of a day on the precious metals market. We're down substantially. Silver is at 22.71, bid by 22.81 ask. We're down 79 cents or 3.34%. At one time, we were down almost $1 an ounce, which is a very, very large loss. Gold today is 1795.60, bid by 1796.60 ask, down $23.80 or 1.31%. It looks like a disastrous day for the metals. And, with all the turmoil and crisis points in the world today, who knows what's driving the metals down today? Quien sabe. I'm certain there are multiple factors involved with this loss worldwide and domestically. And there's only one thing that I know that these factors have in common. That's that they're beyond our control. There's no need to fret or be anxious over this fact. Instead, I suggest that you concentrate on things that you can control. Let me give you a perfect example of what I mean. In the early days of World War II, my godfather, Otto Wilhelmblucher, was forced into a position beyond his control. As a male German citizen, he was constricted into the German Wehrmacht. Upon completion of his military training, he was immediately deployed to the Eastern Front to fight the Russians. In this theater of war, it's common knowledge that the Germans suffered an astronomical casualty rate. One day, out of curiosity, I asked my godfather what his political and philosophical thoughts were about World War II and his participation in it. After a few minutes of pause, he replied the only thing he recalled was his continuous effort to keep body and soul together. And he added that at all times he was vigilant, keeping his head down, attentive, and always practicing situational awareness. He said he really wasn't concerned about the big picture at the time. He was more concerned about the 200 yards immediately surrounding him. His goal was to survive and return to Berlin and marry his fiancée, Elizabeth. And it's amazing that actually in April of 45, when the Russians were storming into Berlin, Otto and Elizabeth felt that they were going to be certainly killed within a matter of hours. So they married in Berlin in April of 45 and went on to lead productive and wonderful lives. They immigrated to the United States and became American citizens and contributed to our society and to our economy. One funny thought, Otto used to get calls from the veterans of foreign wars, and they would say, you're a member of, you're a veteran in good standing, and so forth and so on. And he got several of these calls. Finally, he answered with one of these phone messages and said, look, yes, I am a member, a veteran in good standings, but I was with the German Wehrmacht. And he never got a call from the VFW again. My godfather, like the vast majority of Americans today, was placed in circumstances beyond his control. So I suggest that we as Americans start doing what we can do about our circumstances and stop wasting time and energy on things beyond our control. In other words, let's be masters of our own destiny. Knowledge is power. So I recommend that you be informed. I recommend that you learn to discriminate between the relevant and the irrelevant, and the facts and the nonsense. A perfect example of this taking place today is the hysterical call to arms of the American troops to the Ukrainian border to protect the sanctity of the Ukrainian sovereignty. This is all over the news, as you're well aware, and it is a crisis point that is, requires a lot of attention. On the other hand, there is hardly a mention of the crisis that's occurring on our own border, where we're invaded currently by millions of illegal immigrants that are bringing their crime wave, their illicit drugs, and their organized mayhem to our entire nation, not just our southern border. So it's funny how things are focused on the crisis in Europe and virtually nothing said about our own border. We're willing to send 8,500 troops to the Ukrainian theater, and there's virtually no effort to send any of our troops to our own border. I think this is outrageous. I advise you not to be sheeple. I advise you to stand your ground. Don't just lay down and give up your personal liberty and give up the rights that our armed forces over the many millennia have fought and died to defend. Don't submit to every arbitrary, unlawful mandate and that is shoved down your throat. Exercise your civil liberties with peaceful, and may I add, peaceful civil disobedience. For example, when someone demands that I wear a mask, I respond, it's okay, I'm American. I personally don't trust banks. I suggest that you take a look at your own finances. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you how I feel about things. If you'll recall, within the last few years, they shut the banks down in Greece and for no reason. They arbitrarily just shut the banks down. And then once they reopened, people had to stand in line for hours to receive a small portion of their wealth daily. Some of that is actually happening here. I went to the bank the other day and the branch was closed, the one next to it I went to, and I walked in and there was a line almost out the door, and I'm thinking, what happened? They had about 2 tellers, I think 3 personnel in the whole bank. So I thought, I'm not gonna go for this. So I went outside and thought, well, I'll go through the drive-through. Of course, it was closed. So disgusted, I drove away, and later on that day, I thought, well, I need a little cash, walk around money. So I went back and patiently stood in line. And it was finally my turn in queue. And I went up to the teller and gave her my check, which I wish to cash, and my ID. And she said, "Oh, that's not good enough. We need 2 forms of ID." And I said, "Since when? I've been banking here for almost 20 years and you've only required 1 form of ID." And she said, "Because your check is over $100. And this is a message that I didn't want to hear. I'm thinking $100 is not really a lot of money in today's world. It is, but it isn't. And for them to insist that I show that extra form of ID just for that small transaction tells me something. I believe that one day you're going to see a bank holiday. There's going to be no explanation whatsoever, just like Greece. And then eventually, out of their benevolence, they'll open the banks on limited hours, and you'll be allowed to take only so much money out per day. So I'm just warning you in advance that this could possibly happen. And in the meantime, I would recommend that you take care of your business, manage your affairs by putting some cash in your own personal possession and not necessarily in the bank branch. Most importantly, I suggest that you acquire gold and silver in these turbulent times. Once the paper market collapses, this nonsense will go away about it's up and down, and I think the price will skyrocket. I think the tangible assets, all tangible assets, will increase in value, especially the precious metals. In particular, silver, which is so undervalued today. It's actually ridiculous. In the 1980s, January, I was there, silver approached $50 an ounce in $1980. Today, in 2022, it's less than half of that. So in today's dollars. So I consider today's setback or loss a fabulous buying opportunity if you're lucky enough to find any silver on the market today. When I see my associates and customers, they all universally talk about how high the premiums are. And I don't think they understand that the premiums are just a reflection of how artificially low the precious metal price is. So I believe that even with high premiums, the precious metals are a gift. And I suggest that you take advantage of the opportunity to acquire both. In conclusion today, I've spent enough of your time. I want to conclude with the fact that there are many things that you can't control. So I recommend that you focus on items that you can control. And it's like the old saying, never let a good catastrophe go to waste. Be pragmatic and turn it into an opportunity. So rather than lamenting over what losses you may have incurred with the market going down, considering it a time to pony up and increase your position. I strongly suggest that you stay cool, calm, and collected. And if so, I'm certain you'll prevail in these troubling and uncertain times. Well, I'd like to thank you once again for stopping by to view my video. And as always, I wish you good health and lots of wealth. Salute. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my video channel. And feel free to ask questions or leave comments. I love your comments and your questions. And please share my channel with your friends, family, and associates. if you get a chance to come to my beloved Las Vegas, give me a call in advance, and perhaps we'll get together and have a glass of champagne. In the meantime, stay well. Salute.